the car. They have to pay the $3,000 to fix the car. The issue that's raised, that sort of is raised in your question, is what about the diminished value of the car now? Because now it's a car that's been in an accident. And you know how when you bring it in to trade it in, they bring out that little paint thing and they go around to see if it's been repainted? Obviously, they're doing that because a car that's been in an accident isn't worth as much as one that's not. Do they have to pay you something for that? And that's an open question. That hasn't been answered yet.
But you make one point strongly, I think, that it's up to the consumer to make sure they document every single thing that's happening.
Oh, yeah, getting back to buyer beware.
Right.
Caveat emptor, make sure you read whatever contract you're signing, read the fine print. And sometimes it's difficult to read it, but I mean, you're faced with 22 pages of fine print, and who really reads those
Right.
contracts?
A lawyer, which
Yeah.
brings my next point to bear, which is this something that if you're in that situation, you really need to have a lawyer, or is this, again, something that someone could slog through and easily take care of if they had the time and the patience?
Well, let me begin by saying that every state, through their own Attorney General's office, has a Consumer Affairs division. So a citizen, a consumer, can lodge a complaint through their Attorney General's office. The websites, they all have information on consumer unfair deceptive trade practices or consumer issues. They all have some educational pamphlet that you can print out off their website. So if you don't want to go through the cost of having an attorney do it, then of course you can go through the Attorney General's office. In some cases, like a 93A that I was talking about, the Attorney General, yeah, they can help you, but they can also, on their website, give you what's called a sample demand letter. Is a process in that statute that you have to follow. If you don't follow that process, then you lose your right to have a complaint filed in a superior court, wherever it may be. So it is, in Mass at least, it's a very rule-oriented statute. You have to send a demand, you have to give the retailer 30 days to respond, and then if they don't respond, then you go to the next phase, which is you can file suit, seek treble damages. If you don't send the demand, you may be losing your right to seek treble damages. That situation is a little bit more complicated than going down the street and buying a dishwasher and not being satisfied because you believe it's a faulty item. So it's a little bit more complicated. I would advise that an individual seek counsel from a lawyer in that situation.
And let's talk about the specific situation. If you're talking about a very small claim in Rhode Island, you might be better off just filing a Small Claims Act against whoever it is. That small claims case is designed for people to represent themselves.
Which I guess brings another question, which is, if I'm one consumer with one problem, maybe that's the better way to go. At what point am I, as a single consumer, worthy of going to a lawyer? When is it worth your while? Treble damages, as you're saying? Is it about just the dollars and cents? Is it about the principle that you're wanting to take it as lawyers? What makes that worthwhile?
Let's go back to the home improvement example. Certainly, you have damages there. $20,000 is a lot of money to an individual.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to see a lawyer. You need to see a lawyer. Definitely, you want to always contact your Attorney General's Consumer Affairs Department, because unless we as citizens tell them about it, they're not going to know. They're not going to know.
And there's another cause of action that might be relevant to this situation. Let's go back to the automobile damage situation. What if you have an insurance company that routinely shaves $500 off the value of your car, just arbitrarily, and you know they're doing it, and they do it to every single person who has a totaled vehicle? You know, here's the value of your car, we're shaving $500 off. Well, $500 isn't enough to sue for one person, but there's class action lawsuits, and that's the perfect situation for a class action suit when you know, in this case, the insurance company is routinely, as a matter of course, taking consumers and treating them unfairly.
What kind of lawyers do we need if we do have these issues? Do we have to have someone who specializes in class action suits? Do we have any lawyer who can handle a simple consumer complaint issue?
A simple consumer complaint, I would assume if a lawyer has a good, is educated in the area, I'm sure he or she can handle it. You want to ask questions as a potential client. Have you ever had a suit like this? How many cases have you had? If it's a class action, you do want to go to somebody that specializes in class actions.
You could start out by, if you have an attorney, speak to your attorney.
Yeah.
And just ask, here's the question, here's the situation, and they might be able to refer you to somebody who handles that type of case, the class action.
If it were just the single consumer, would that be something that lawyers would mostly take on a fee basis, or would they take it as a contingency? How did that work?
Depends on the situation. Some particular cases you do want to take on a fee basis. It just depends. So something like that I would take on a fee basis.
Right, and it depends on the type of claim
Yeah.
and how big the claim is and how much work has to go into the claim and whether it has to go to suit or arbitration or to a board such as the Better Business Bureau or an arbitration board. So all those things are going to factor into how you're going to proceed.
Worthwhile for a consumer to hire a lawyer for bait and switch issues?
Yeah, I mean,
Should it ever get to that point?
Again, let's start with the Attorney General's Office Consumer Affairs Division, Consumer Protection Division, because they need to know about it. There are penalties. If they don't know that this is a potential fraud issue, if you really want to think about it, deceptive trade practices. We have laws in the state, and the laws are designed to protect the consumer. So the consumer can invoke the laws. Yeah, if they want to hire a lawyer, they can hire a lawyer, but I think let's start with the State Attorney General's office. You can download a complaint right off their website. You may be able to, you mail it into them, and they will investigate it. Are they going to investigate something that's under $500? You never know. I mean, like what David said, it could be something much larger than just
Right.
$500 because an insurance company decides.
Exactly. If
Yeah.
it's part of a bigger ongoing scheme almost,
Yeah.
they're going to be interested in that. To bring that type of case, a small case, to an individual lawyer, probably not going to have a lot of interest in pursuing that case. But maybe it is part of a class action potential suit. So possibly.
In the short time that we have left, let's just speak to this from the business person, the business owner's standpoint. The business owner, retail, automobile dealer, appliance dealer, he should know what the laws are. What's the situation with the salespeople, his staff? How culpable are they to know all of these laws and upselling and what's lemon law? Are they...
Vicarious liability, which means the employer is responsible for the acts of the employee. So if you're hiring somebody, you better well be sure that they're properly trained and they know what the laws are.
Right. And the bottom line is, use reasonable judgment, act in good faith, and you can almost never go afoul of any of these things.
Do you find that there are many consumers who are used to gaming the system, that they want to find the little hook that lets them either get another product? And what is the business person's?
So you're talking about a repeat offender, so to speak. I don't find that at all.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody has a legitimate problem, they're legitimate. I don't find that at all.
And businesses, for the most part, are tuned into how to deal with those people.
Well, there certainly are several other topics that we need to discuss, and in our next segment, we'll talk probably about some of the gift cards. It's certainly tis the season. We wanted to thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you're more aware and better prepared as you're shopping and as you're dealing with automobile dealers, retailers, and are a little better equipped to handle the issues. If you have questions about these topics or others, we still invite you to email us at legalmatters@fullchanneltv.net. And I think our next topic to weigh in on, which will be more about consumers, perhaps cyberbullying, cyber gambling, and definitely about gift cards. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching. Legal Matters continues. I think probably we should start off with gift cards.